Hello friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story about an annoying Karen who made a scene about her allergies on an airplane, and our OP got first-class seats. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Benefactor of Malicious Compliance got me a first-class upgrade. Yes, I know people have legitimate allergies. Don't nitpick this story. The woman may have had allergies, but they only popped up when it was convenient. This was in 2000. I was traveling with my service dog and my family. We had seats in the back of the plane. At the check-in, entitled business class ticket holder Karen spotted my service dog, went up to the desk, and demanded we be bumped off the flight because she was highly allergic to dogs. She began wheezing, sneezing, and gasping on cue. Side note, we'd been sitting within 2 feet of her for over an hour. My dog was under my chair as he was trained to do. She spotted him when he came out to get water. The CSR stated he would be happy to bump her to a later flight. Karen pitched a fit, forgetting she needed to cough, wheeze, and sneeze. Karen requested a supervisor. Supervisor came, listened to her, and stated that if she wanted to stay on this flight, they'd do everything in their power to move the seating so that my dog was as far away from her and her family as possible. She happily agreed. She and her family got moved to the back row. My family got put in the empty first class where my dog got his own seat. Yes, they covered the seat with a blanket, and I put my coat on it as well to keep fur off. And our second story. Christmas makes customers crazy. I used to work on a shop inside the supermarket. I mean, really inside. We were responsible for the clothes, shoes, and linens department. Customers would actually pay at the supermarket's checkout. Weird, I know, but we had totally different color uniforms, and our name tag also had our brand name. Regular customers were used to it, but time to time we had to explain to people we didn't actually work for the supermarket, but we were still nice to them if they needed any help like finding stuff. Even though we couldn't wander around the supermarket, I'd point them and try my best to explain where something was if I knew. If I couldn't help the customer myself, I would call that department as we had to phone ourselves for when someone at the checkout was having problems with one of our items, or if there was a problem at customer service. We couldn't use the checkout ourselves, but they allowed us to use the trainees one, the one they used to teach the new employees. And in there we could check prices, when tags felt, and check our buy 3, pay 2 offer on some items. So Christmas came along and there were 10 times the work but no extra staff. Huge queues with more than 30 customers at each checkout, total madness. In the middle of that, I grabbed some items and went to the checkout I talked about earlier to check something, and out of a sudden, a customer appears and starts unloading her full shopping cart at the conveyor. I kindly said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm very sorry, but this checkout's closed." Really, I know I was there, but the light was off and it had a close sign. And she just yelled at me, "I don't care. You're here, aren't you? So shut up or I'll file a complaint at you and have you fired." What a nice Christmas spirit. I was well known for not taking crap from rude customers, but that time I decided to shut up as I knew I would laugh at her face minutes later and just stayed there quietly doing my job with a smirk on my face while she was shouting about all the people that were there and no way she was going to wait in the long queues. As the conveyor got full, I grabbed the clothes I took there to begin with and very calmly walked away from the checkout. She started yelling again, "Where do you think you're going? Come back right now. I'll get you fired." And I looked back and just told her, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I tried to warn you about that checkout being closed. I don't even work for the supermarket. And even if I did, I couldn't check your stuff in there because this computer's just for trainees or checking prices. It's not programmed like the others." And walked away. The woman was livid and started shouting again for a manager. The manager of the supermarket came and called me on the phone to go there and get things straight. She started shouting about how I didn't warn her that checkout couldn't be used and how I made fun of her. And I didn't even have to say a word as other customers came in my defense and said it was all her fault because when I tried to warn her, she told me she would get me fired if I kept talking. The manager sent her on her way, and all the other customers started laughing at her face while she was putting everything back in the cart and went to the back of the huge queue. The manager then looked at me and said, "Well played, as always." I think I'm going to take a look at the cameras later so I can have a laugh too. And our next story. How dare you tell me the price of this product? I work in an interesting business that I really enjoy. I love the work, I love my boss, I love my coworkers, and in general, I really just love my job. But I work with a lot of really keyed up customers that sometimes I just don't understand. One story in particular was really amusing to me. I was helping with paperwork at a large event our company was hosting at a high school. We had worked it out with the school, and they were allowing us to use a parking lot to unveil a new product we were about to put on the market. Now, the product would have been fine to post online had it not been that this was the trial version and we wanted to test it out first before publicizing it. So part of my job was to keep viewers from taking pictures of the product. By the mid-afternoon, I'd been the front man for questions about the product, giving information about the to-be results and all that jazz, while simultaneously reminding people not to photograph anything. I'd gotten good at looking for open camera apps and stopping them before it became an issue. Most people were fine with it, some were huffy, but one was just flat out rude. Let's call her Excessively Sensitive Lady, ESL. Me. Hello, ma'am. Just so you know, there will be no pictures allowed inside the event. ESL. Well, why not? Me. The product we have won't be available for a while and it's still in the beginning stages, so we do not allow pictures. ESL. That's bullcrap. I can take pictures if I want to. Me. No, ma'am, you cannot take pictures here. If you try, I'll have to ask you to leave. ESL. Whatever. So ESL goes in and I try to keep an eye on her phone. In the meantime, I'm talking with an elderly gentleman at the front table I was working at. He was asking about future pricing and whatnot, so I obviously told him what the price was. All of a sudden, ESL comes storming over and butts in front of the man I was talking with. ESL. Do you have a card? Me. I'm confused. Well, I have a company card, but not a personal card. ESL. Oh, well, I just wanted you to know that you're extremely rude. Me. Excuse me? ESL. How dare you say the price of this product out loud? Me. ESL. What if some of us can't afford that, huh? What if we want to have pictures of the product for free because we can't afford it, huh? Did you ever think about that? Mind you, she had the newest iPhone, really nice clothing, Coach purse, and all that jazz. Me. I'm totally baffled that this is even a problem. The gentleman was asking me for the price, so I obviously had to... ESL. Well, I heard it, and I'm offended. Who's your manager? Me. I was not addressing you when I was talking to this man here. I gestured to the man who was looking as baffled as I am before you interrupted me. ESL. I did not interrupt you, you little jerk. You're supposed to cater to me. I'm the customer. At this point, I just stop talking and point at where my manager's located. She storms off and starts going off about me, but I don't care. I apologize to the prior gentleman who's still at my table and continue working with him. Within about 15 minutes, ESL leaves in tears and drives off in her nice SUV. My manager approaches me at the end of the day and says I did a great job handling her, so I was happy that my manager understood that she was a psycho. Still don't know how exactly I offended her, but hey, what are you going to do? And our last story. I have a mom's wheelchair accessible van towed. I live in apartments with terrible parking. They overbuilt without considering that maybe one parking space per unit isn't enough. They charge $25 a month for unassigned parking and $50 for an assigned covered space. I work evenings and get home at 1 a.m. There's never unassigned parking available at that hour, so I pay extra for the assigned space. A family with a son in a wheelchair recently moved in, and they have 2 wheelchair-accessible vans. The complex provides them 1 handicap spot for free. I met them when they parked in my assigned spot and asked them to move. The mom apologized and explained my spot was perfect for the family's needs because it's at the end of the row and the passenger door opens onto the sidewalk. It's not officially a handicapped space, but they can make it work. I went to the leasing office with her to see if I could get a different spot and transfer mine to her because I'm not trying to make life harder for a kid in a wheelchair or his family. Unfortunately, they have 0 assigned spots currently available for rent. They used to allow people to rent as many spots as they wanted as long as they were willing to pay. They've now instituted a policy that you can only rent as many parking spaces as your unit has bedrooms, but because the parking spots are currently written into people's leases, they can't revoke them until leases end. There's nowhere else to park. There's a bank nearby, but they'll tow you if you're there when the manager comes in. The next closest option is a Safeway parking lot almost a mile down the road. I'm on a waiting list and should have a new spot by October. Until then, I'm not giving up my current spot. The mom cried and said she really needed my spot and doesn't understand why I'm being so heartless. There is unassigned handicap parking by the leasing office, but it's on the other side of the complex, and it really shouldn't inconvenience her son because the family does still have their assigned handicap spot right in front of their door. Seems to me that whichever parent actually has the kid in tow should coordinate with the other one to leave their spot open so their son can get in and out easily, and the other parent can park the other van by the leasing office and walk. Since then, the mom has parked in my spot a few times, and each time I left notes asking her to move or I'd have her towed. She's always moved by morning. She's so combative I can't really stand the thought of talking to her. Last night I got home and her van was in my spot. She doesn't care about my warning, so I decided to tow her. Her son's circumstances don't mean I lose my parking space. She needs to work out her problems like an adult and talk to the building management, or work it out between them. There's no way that steal someone else's space is the solution to her problem. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.